Hey everyone, what's up? So today we have a Poulan Pro 650 series. It's the 170cc 6.5 gross foot-pounds of torque. That's not horsepower, by the way. But it doesn't start. Dun 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 dun. But it's in good condition. I don't see a speck of rust on there. That bag looks like they mulched and they just never used it. But then weird stuff goes on, like that broken handlebar bolt, I don't know. Other side's missing. And I noticed the primer bulb is a little opened up. And the fuel, there's not a whole lot in there, but it smells a tad aged, but just a tad. So I think we're going to do this. We're going to try to avoid taking off the carb. We're going to try to do this the easy way without having to potentially ruin gaskets. Well, we're going to have to take off the air filter housing anyway and the plates, so we might still have to get a new gasket, but we're going to try to make this the easy way and continue on. In the meantime, something that I'm not going to show is I'm just going to look and see if I can find a clip for the pull cord, see if I can find a non-broken piece and another one on the opposite side. So while I do that, I'm going to put you away, get this jacked up, and we'll get started. I just realized we never actually checked to see if this is even worth looking into. I mean, it's in good condition, but the engine's gonna knock around. It's not worth it. Uh-oh. Okay, I might have condemned that a little earlier than I thought. I realized I put this recoil holder on backwards. Well, I guess it's not the recoil holder, but you know what I mean. So yeah, looks like we are ready to get going. Fortunately, it's kind of unavoidable, but we're gonna have to take this off. In fact, I might just take off the cover to make it easier for you to see. Now, usually if you're going to be going through this hassle anyway, you just take off the carb. But we're going to be a little unconventional today. The gasket looks like it survived. But something I like to do on a lot of these Briggs now, because they do like to be a little temperamental, is this ultra black, or pretty much any black RTV really, as long as you use a very small amount, like literally like probably less than that. We're just gonna put it, in fact that is too much, and take my rag and clean off my finger. I mean, that's how much I have to clean off. And then just right around here is where it usually likes to give you problems. We're gonna let that chill there. And what that does is if there's any type of flex or bend in the little primer plate, I suppose you would call it, that's going to help kind of seal it up. You can do that for all of them. I do that on mine, except when you do that, you want to make sure that you are most definitely, I probably need to turn off that fuel, huh? Not with that size of crimp. anyway, that you are most definitely letting it dry a little bit first, so it gets a you just want a thin skin. So you don't actually want to glue it. You just want to have like a thin rubber layer that's not attached at all to the inside right here, but just a thin layer on the actual gasket itself. So when you throw away the gasket later in time, there you are also throwing away the RTV you added to it. I hope that makes sense. There was some point in time when I would buy these gaskets in bulk, and just to avoid having potential problems, I would just take like 10 at a time and just put RTV on every single one of them. If that doesn't come off, it means it's making a good seal, so I'm not going to worry. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that out, because it does look a little nasty, and be right back. Not only was that completely plugged, it was dirty. Okay, I was about to say there should be at least some fuel flow going through there. Very little gasoline. It's yellow, it's aged, but it's not incredibly aged. I think we're going to let that be. Okay, let's go ahead and put that bowl nut back on. Not replacing or not taking that bowl can be a little risky, but I also, with these type of carbs, don't like to break the seal if I don't have to on the bowl, because the bowl seal actually, if it's bad, will make it impossible for you to prime your engine. So you're just pressing on these tabs and it should come out. They like to work themselves back in. See what I mean? It still would work, you just have to put your finger all over it. So while we're discussing this, let's see if I can find one. So there is a significant difference between these two. They look basically the same. In fact, I think they'll even fit in the same place. This does not have a hole. This does. This style of engine, we need that breather hole. In fact, now I'm looking at it, I need to buy, this is my last one. So you want to have it stick out just a hair. Something I do like to do is, if I could find my oil, there it is. I'm going to take just a thin layer, kind of like when you put on a new oil filter. Just kind of put that on there. It helps with putting it back in. I'm going to boil that out, cover your ears. And it just, in my opinion, makes it a lot easier to use. So now, we have that lined up. I like to use this method because it's relatively easy. You can use like a socket and do it that way, but I don't really like using a socket. There we go. That's using a gut. Okay. We should be set. So I'm going to put this back on and we're going to see if it primes. I'm hoping that this is seen, but I put it on. Let's see if we can prime it. See that fuel coming up through the emulsion tube? That is 100% what you want to see. I did have to bend this out of the way to do so for you, but generally I wouldn't. But you can usually see it with it in the way, just not so much on camera. And we are back. So it's been about a minute or two since I've primed it. It's maybe okay. I might have to redo it again, but let's try it anyway, see what happens. That looked like a rich start instead of a lean start. That's not right at all. There is something definitely wrong with that governor setup. Okay, so I just got done adjusting the spring on the governor, so that hopefully hooks, not the governor, but the spring to adjust the RPM. If you haven't seen that video or you don't know how to, definitely watch that one as well. It's pretty easy though. I've shown it a couple other times, but specifically for this engine style. Something I do want to do, because that is a older Briggs & Stratton plug, so I want to take a new plug. It's an Autolite though, but a new Autolite plug, in my opinion, is probably just as good as a Briggs & Stratton plug. It's not a champion, of course, but look at that. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. It's pretty hot, so I don't really want to touch it. Let me grab it with a pair of pliers real quick here. Do you see that gap? Very, very small. Now, in comparison to that gap, new gap is probably double. When we first turned it on, I noticed it was kind of spitting. That's a problem that has a lot of reasons, to be honest. One of them could just very well be the spark plug gap is too close or non-existent. Well, if it's non-existent, it wouldn't run, but so hopefully that will fix our problem. So I've adjusted it. We have a new plug. Hopefully it's not spitting. Give it a prime. And when I mean spitting, it just like it runs, but you hear like a that runs good. So we are good to go. The primer is done. We put a thin layer of RTV on the gasket to make sure it has a skin that we can ensure the primer is always good and solid. It works so well. If you prime it too many times, you're probably going to flood it. One time is okay with these machines when you do that. Trust me, you don't want to do 2 or 3 unless it's super cold, you haven't used it in a long time. Spark plug gap was fixed by a new plug. We could just re-gapped it, but it was already old and needed to be replaced to begin with. New air filter, oil's going to be changed here shortly, blade and all that stuff. We are good to go. So if you have a Poulan Pro that you haven't used in a long time and you want a quick and easy fix for a couple of these things, any one of these is a real easy one. It's all done the same way. But since you're doing one, especially if you're redoing the primer bulb, you might as well look at the jet on that bolt, especially if you're using ethanol fuels. That's a good thing to do pretty much every year to make sure you're getting the right fuel mixture. A lean will cause overheating, and you just don't want that. Probably will never have to worry about running it rich, to be honest, so don't worry about that one. But other than that, we should be good to go. Okay, if you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe, have a good evening. Bye. Okay, quick addendum to the ending of the RPM video. I was looking at the plug. Granted, you probably don't need to know this or want to know this, but it's going to be easier for you to hear the engine speed. But the plug gap was severely decreased where it should be. It should be at 30 thousandths, that's maybe 15 thousandths. Let's hear the difference between before and now. Put the clip on, give it a prime, and let's hear it now. See how much smoother it is? So hopefully that was a better representation of what it should sound like. You know, simple things like a plug. So hopefully that helped you out. Yet again, have a good night. Later.